Yeah, I think everything's on the table. I think it would be silly to go into a season and say, hey, something absolutely can or cannot happen. And I think particularly at the quarterback.
Deshaun's one way to win this job is his athleticism. Is Monken installs a system, a Lamar Jackson-based system. I hate to use that word because there's only one of him, right? But we saw in minicamp and OTAs, we saw some days that Deshaun Watson ran design keepers where he ran zone read. Shedeur is not going to do that.
The Cleveland Browns quarterback battle just got a lot more serious. This is no longer fans arguing online. This update came straight from Andrew Berry, and the way he talked about Shedeur Sanders changed the entire feel of this competition. Watson was supposed to be the easy answer, the veteran, the quarterback Cleveland already paid for. But Shedeur has turned this into something different. When a general manager uses words like excellent, tremendous, and phenomenal about a young quarterback's development, people need to pay attention. Berry did not close the book after minicamp. He praised Watson for being healthy and learning the new system, but he also praised Shedeur for making major strides over the past 6 months. That is not one good practice. That is a pattern the Browns believe they are seeing. Watson still has the contract and the experience, but Berry made one thing very clear. The Browns are not treating Shedeur like a backup holding a clipboard anymore. They are watching his growth closely, and right now, they genuinely like what they see.
I think this is one of the most pivotal times in the world for Shedeur Sanders as well as Deshaun Watson. You got about 6 weeks. What are you going to do in those 6 weeks? Because you got to stack days together so that when you can come back in camp, the playbook is down, you know what it is, the installation is ready to go, you know the motions, and now you can just go out there and play fast.
Berry did not give a lazy compliment. He talked about Shedeur learning from his rookie year, understanding what he needed to fix, and attacking the offseason the right way. He said the growth has been tremendous. He said the Browns are excited to see him in padded situations in preseason. That is exactly what Shedeur needed, not to be named the starter in June, just for the organization to say we have seen enough to keep this going. But Berry did not bury Watson either. He said Watson has had a strong spring and it has been good to see him healthy. The Browns still need to know what they have in him. They gave up assets. They took on a massive contract. Watson is still going to get a real chance. So now both quarterbacks have something to prove. One is fighting to justify the past, the other is fighting to own the future. And training camp is about to tell Cleveland everything.
And I think he did a phenomenal job this offseason. That really started in January and February. And then certainly as we got into having, real practices in May, his growth has been tremendous. So we're all very excited to see, Shedeur's, fall camp, preseason, things of that nature when we get into padded situations, live situations, less scripted. But his growth has truly been phenomenal.
Watson is no longer the only story. That is what makes Berry's comments so important. If the Browns were ready to hand Watson the job, Berry could have kept Shedeur's praise generic. Instead, he went out of his way to mention his command, accuracy, and control of the huddle. Those are not small details. Those are the things a team looks for when deciding whether a player can actually run an offense. If Shedeur is naturally accurate, improving in command, and controlling the huddle better, this competition is not media hype. It is real enough that the Browns are publicly acknowledging it. That does not mean Shedeur is ahead, but it means he has earned the right to keep pushing. Here's the part nobody is talking about. The biggest misconception about Shedeur has always been that he is just a name-brand quarterback living off the Sanders legacy. But that narrative falls apart when the people inside the building keep talking about his work. Berry pointed to January and February. He pointed to the work before practices even began. Shedeur did not just show up in May trying to impress people for cameras. He has been building toward this quietly, while everyone argued about whether he even belonged in the conversation. And now the Browns are saying he does.
When asked about Shedeur, this is what Andrew Berry had to say. He said, I think he's had an excellent spring. His growth has been tremendous. So we're already excited to see Shedeur in fall camp and the preseason. When we get into live situations, his growth has been really phenomenal.
This quarterback battle is becoming dangerous for Watson. He has the contract, but Shedeur has the growth curve. He has the past, but Shedeur is forcing the future into the room. Watson cannot just survive because of what the Browns invested in him. He has to show enough to make the team believe there is no reason to turn the page. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Watson is not only competing against Shedeur's current level, he is competing against Shedeur's projection. If Watson looks solid but limited and Shedeur keeps getting better every week, that becomes a real conversation. The contract matters, but the field eventually matters more. Berry also made something clear. Public discourse does not factor into how the Browns build the team. That is important because this battle has been surrounded by noise from day one. Some fans do not want Watson because of everything attached to his name. Some people do not want Shedeur because they made up their minds before he took a snap. But Berry is saying none of that matters. The Browns have to care about one thing only: who can perform, who can lead, and who gives Cleveland the best chance to finally move forward.
I think that was a real point of emphasis. I think you watched Shedeur over the last couple of weeks of the offseason versus the first few weeks. You saw notable emphasis on getting rid of the ball, on Shedeur lining up his feet and therefore getting his shoulders and eyes in the right place to get rid of it. So they weren't all perfect, but when Shedeur's going, he's accurate. And when Shedeur's going, his body language shows it. And what I saw over 2 of the days at minicamp and a little bit in the last OTA.
Berry said the Browns are looking for guys who can perform and lead. Watson has to prove he can still perform at a winning level. Shedeur has to prove he can lead grown men in an NFL huddle. The winner will be the guy who commands the offense when it matters most. That is why training camp and preseason are now everything. Berry confirmed the competition continues into real football, padded situations, live situations, less scripted settings. That is where Watson's experience should show, but it is also where Shedeur can prove his growth is real. Every preseason snap is about to be watched like evidence in a trial. If Watson separates clearly, the Browns say the veteran earned it. But if Shedeur keeps pushing, every strong practice creates more questions and every shaky Watson moment creates more doubt. The Browns wanted clarity after minicamp. Instead, they got a competition that is only getting more intense, and training camp is about to force the answer.
So whether it's putting together the team or putting together the best lineup, public discourse, Andrew Berry says, does not play a role. And he said that really doesn't factor into it.
The Browns did not want a quarterback controversy, but they may already have a competition too interesting to ignore. Berry is treating this like a real evaluation, not rushing it, not closing it. But once Shedeur's name and Watson's contract are both involved, the noise is impossible to avoid. Cleveland has been searching for quarterback stability for years. Watson was supposed to end that cycle, but injuries and inconsistency kept the door open. Now, Shedeur has stepped into that opening and made the question fresh again. This is not just about winning a camp battle. This is about rewriting the story people tried to write for Shedeur. People called him entitled, laughed at his draft fall, questioned everything. But now the GM is talking about his work ethic, accuracy, and command. That is a major shift. The conversation is no longer, can he survive in the NFL? It is becoming, how soon can he lead a team? And in Cleveland, that question has not had a real answer in a very long time.
If Shedeur Sanders masters the offense and learns to do a better job of taking the simple ones, he's getting everybody in the right place, then he's going to be the starting quarterback.
Watson still has the name, past production, and the physical tools, but he has to prove the Browns can trust him again. The NFL does not wait forever. If he looks like a starting quarterback, he calms everything down. If he does not, Shedeur's rise becomes even more dangerous. Berry did not name a starter, but he gave this competition real legitimacy. He praised Watson enough to keep him in the race. He praised Shedeur enough to make clear the young quarterback is not being dismissed. That is the update that keeps both sides alive and pushes the real answer to training camp. The decision is simple, but uncomfortable. If Watson is healthy and sharp, do you trust the veteran because of experience and investment? Or if Shedeur is showing command and phenomenal growth, do you let the best player win no matter what the contract says? Watson was expected to control this race, but Berry's update shows Shedeur is not going away. He is growing, he is pushing, and if he carries that into pads and preseason games, Cleveland may have a bigger decision than anyone expected. Because this is not just about who starts week 1, this is about whether the Browns are still tied to the past or finally staring at a future they didn't plan for. Watson was supposed to be the answer. Shedeur is making the Browns ask the question again. And the real debate is whether Cleveland has the courage to let the competition end in a way nobody expected.